If you don't learn how to be authentic, you will live a miserable existence forever. In this video, I'm going to show you what authenticity is based on the laws of the universe, what it means to be inauthentic, and then how to know you're being authentic so you can claim life's rewards. Now, I wouldn't tell you that I've helped other people find their purpose, mission, and vision in life. I wouldn't tell you that I've helped people elevate their mental health, have better relationships, and make more money. I wouldn't tell you that I went from being broke, sleeping on a basement floor to a top earner. And I wouldn't tell you that most of what you've learned about authenticity is wrong, because that would be bragging. And that's not authentic. Or is it? I'm going to guide you through a 3-part framework of authenticity. Let's get into it. All right, so to save a little time these days, I have already drawn the diagram of the universe. This is the law of correspondence. We live in a spiritual, mental, and physical plane. Physical world. They are all related together. They all affect one another. Now, when we talk about authenticity, sometimes we need to understand what we are trying to avoid or what we are not doing before we know what we are doing. So what does it mean to be inauthentic?
I just like to say you did a really good job with the diagram today. I think you actually did better than I did that one time I drew it.
I'm getting better. I learned this one from you. I copied yours. Was that authentic? Was me copying you authentic? No, it's not. It's a copied diagram. So what does it mean to be inauthentic? It's very simple. Being inauthentic is simply not living in your values. All right, if you don't know your values, which is basically what's important to you, you can get my free value finder tool. Link is in the description below. Now, why do you not live in what you value? Why do you not do what you value? Why do you not carry out your life based upon what you value? Because you're in survival mode. You're in survival mode, doing things that you don't want to do because you need to live. And this is due to your amygdala, which is an old part of the brain. Amygdala, right? Which is concerned with things that are negative and positive in reality. It is concerned with fear and fantasy. These markers ain't running out. I just am writing strangely today for some reason.
I feel like it's also because you forgot to put the cap on, and then we put the cap on the other day.
Oh, true.
So would the amygdala be like the duality, like how your brain makes sense of duality?
Yep.
And like polarity?
It is literally the physical manifestation of the 4th Hermetic law of the universe, polarity. Your amygdala is the physical manifestation of it. And the fact that there is actually two of them, amygdalae, okay? Amygdalae, there's 2 of them, negative and positive, duality of life, 2 amygdalae, right? But we just use amygdala for, talking sake. But the amygdala is trying to keep you alive, okay? It's concerned with fear and fantasy, predator and prey, even shame and pride, all these polarized vectors. Shame and pride, right? So you actually, let's say a simple example of this is you go to a job that you can't stand because you needed to survive. You needed to pay your bills. So you go and pretend like you like people that you don't like, and you go and pretend that you want to talk to customers that you don't want to talk to, and you have to go put on a smile, and it's inauthentic. But it's because you need to live. So I'm not judging that, right? I've had to do that. You've had to do that. Many people have had to do that and be inauthentic in order to survive. But the problem is, if you live within your amygdala instead of living within your values, you will continue to be inauthentic for the rest of your life and live a very unfulfilled existence, constantly having to lie through life and just not be who you know you can be. Because your highest self, your spiritual self, is the self that lives within your values. So you're working a job you might hate and you'd much rather do something else. If you could do something else and still survive, something that you care about more, you probably would. So for instance, when I was working at Chipotle, I did not like Chipotle. I had to go pretend like I liked everyone, pretend like I care about customers. I was in the most busy spot in the city, the busiest Chipotle. And the thing with Chipotle is like you get promoted and like people make more money and stuff if the staff are all like friends. I'm not friends with these people. Like, what are you talking about? So I had to be inauthentic. You get what I'm saying? And it's just a survival response. So it's okay. Don't feel beat up and ashamed and afraid because you're being inauthentic to survive. You gotta live, right? So that's what it means to be inauthentic.
Oh, I'm taking in, so technically, if we didn't necessarily have the amygdala, we wouldn't be having a human experience and actually know what experience is. So you need to go through the amygdala to then go neutralize the charges where everything becomes one at the top of spiritualism, and you kind of get through that process with the experience of the physical, making it mental, going through the reflective, neutralizing process, and then once it goes through that, it's the spiritual where everything's like now one kind of thing.
You've been paying a lot of attention. You've been paying a lot of attention. Yeah, the amygdala is very much part of the 3D reality existence that we have. And it's part of what makes life beautiful, you know, when you're able to cancel out your charges, see the good in the bad and the bad in the good, and become more enlightened. It's a very special feeling. So thank the amygdala for that. Now, so with that being said, we know what it's like, what it means to be inauthentic. Simply not living within your values, not doing what you care about. So then what does it mean to actually be authentic? So
according to Russ, it means having FU money.
If you have FU money, you can be more authentic. That's why so much like billionaires and super rich people, a lot of people think they're jerks when they're really just being authentic. Like Naval Ravikant, for instance, who's a massive entrepreneur, big time billionaire guy. Naval will be in a conversation with somebody and no longer care about the conversation and walk off, like literally just walk off. You know what I mean?
Goals.
And people, pardon?
I said goals.
Yeah, exactly. How many people watching wish they could be like that? Like you're in the middle of a conversation and you're like, man, forget this. And just walk off. Naval is like that. He will just walk off, right? Because he's got FU money, so he doesn't care, right? He has the experience of being very authentic. Me, on the other hand, all right, I'll sit there and listen to somebody or listen to them chat or whatever, and then not business what they're talking about, but I'm being nice, which is a little bit inauthentic in that case. And I'm glad you mentioned this, right? Or did I mention it?
I mentioned it, but you're feeding off of the mention.
Okay. So, look, I'm not somebody to look at for all kind of like moral purity and super authenticity and all this type of stuff, because I still do inauthentic things. I still do things that aren't within my values. I still do things that I don't necessarily want to do. A lot of it also has to do with amygdala survival type stuff. So I'm not 100% authentic, right? I do inauthentic stuff. Anybody who tells you, I was going to talk about this later, but anybody who tells you, all right, they are 100% authentic. If you ask them, are you authentic? And they're like, yes, I'm 100% authentic. Run away, because they are inauthentic. All right? They do stuff they don't necessarily like. They do stuff they don't necessarily value. A real authentic person will tell you, nah, you know what? I haven't always told the truth. Sometimes I've been manipulative. Sometimes I've been this way, that way. Not 100% authentic.
Maybe they don't have family or kids either, because
Yeah.
you can be the most authentic person and then go home for the holidays.
It's facts. So, like, just look out for that. If it's actually something Chase Hughes teaches, who's like a master of psychology, and somebody asked him, like, how do you determine if someone's authentic? And he said, just ask them, are you authentic? And that answer will tell you everything you need to know. The least authentic people will tell you they're 100% authentic, right?
Oh, that's a good one.
So, authenticity is living in your values. Your values. So being authentic is simply living in your values. You're not inauthentic if you go get a BBL or you wear makeup or you wear certain hair or you do whatever that people like to get at women and say they're inauthentic for that. Listen, if she values a certain look or she values beauty, for instance, right? The standard beauty models that we have here in the West, if she values that and she decides to do those things, she's living in her values. She's being authentic. My mentor, John DeMartini, told a story one time where he said he discovered the values of this woman. She valued beauty. A lot of people will think that's shallow. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean you value beauty? What do you mean? They think that's shallow, but that's what she valued. You can't judge people's values. You can't go around thinking they're shallow. People value what they value. So she valued beauty, right? And did her best to look as good as she could all the time and ended up marrying a billionaire. So there you go. So you got to live in your values. And when other people are telling you that you're being inauthentic, for instance, a girl who goes gets surgery or is wearing makeup and people are telling her she's inauthentic, they're simply carrying out polarized vectors based on their values. It's other people, right? Over here, we got other people, OP, trying to inject their values into your mind. Trying to make you feel ashamed, right, for not caring about what they care about.
It's kind of like Hermosi when he was like, if he gets a negative comment or something, it's like, it's just something that, I wouldn't prefer, or they're living a reality I wouldn't prefer. I'm living a reality they wouldn't prefer.
He said, I live my life in a way you wouldn't prefer.
And I love that.
Fantastic. Super, super good. And many people that you think are inauthentic or you think are not the nicest of people or whatever are actually super authentic. Super authentic. Because here's the thing. People will do things like lie, right? And you will think it's inauthentic, but they're just carrying out their values. And you've done that too. You have lied to carry out your values. So for instance, right, let's say you're on a date. You just meet somebody and y'all are on a date. How much truth did you tell on that first date? Really ask yourself, how much truth did you tell on that first date? What woman is gonna go sit on that first date and say, I've slept with 100 men? What guy is gonna go on that date and say, I'm completely broke? What guy's gonna do that? So y'all are over here finessing, being inauthentic to get people to like you, and then later on they find out who you actually are. Now here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. If you were on that date and you did fully expose these things, you would actually be surprised how things go. You'd actually be surprised, right? So don't sit there and think that because somebody lies or twists the truth a little bit that they're being inauthentic. They're living in their values to get a particular result. And you've done it too. You've done it. So don't be shaming and bashing other people and casting judgment on them. As the Bible says, Jesus said, he without sin shall cast the first stone.
Yeah, like all the people judging certain things about the world and on their cell phone. Oh my
Facts.
gosh, these people are so evil. These billionaires, these millionaires are so evil. Meanwhile, you're using the exact tech and platforms that they created to fund your life.
Come on now. It's always full circle. Always full circle. Because I wrote this today and didn't really go over it, I don't necessarily know everything.
You know why?
Why?
Because you're tapping into your authenticity.
Because I'm being authentic, right?
Yeah.
All right. And finally, how do you know you're being authentic? Because it'd be important to get a signal to actually know that you're in the right space, all right? How do you know? Firstly, not charged. Okay? You are not in a state of charge. Okay, you're not in an amygdala state where you're in fear or fantasy, where you're in shame or pride, where you're in any sort of swung up rhythm thinking that something is super good or super bad. So if you go to work, right, and you're like, I hate work, right? I hate this place. Oh my goodness, I hate this place. You are in a charged state. So you are being inauthentic. You going to work right now or working at that job that you hate is putting you into an inauthentic state. That's why you're charged up. That's why you're bothered about it. But it's not just the quote unquote negative side. It's the positive side too. So if you're overly elated about something, I don't know why this popped into my head. So I'm so happy to go to the zoo.
You really were.
I was happy to go to the zoo, but there's drawbacks to the zoo. What you're not seeing when you're like, oh yo, I'm so happy to be here. This is so amazing. What you're not seeing is the drawbacks. The food in the zoo costs a whole heap of money.
I was more neutral with the zoo because I knew that.
You were neutral with
I
the
was
zoo.
very neutral.
We bought some food. I'm like, yo, why is this $100? You know what I mean? So,
Which was hilarious because if you compare that to what we made that day, I was like, you're
yeah,
very
but
interesting
still.
individual.
Because see, it's not in my values. I'm like, I'll get to it because I value financial independence. So I like to save money, right? So boom, I was like, oh yeah, I'm so happy to be at the zoo, but I didn't see the drawbacks, so I still wasn't in authenticity. You're authentic when you're in a state of gratitude, love, and flow.
Oh, that's like our relationship.
Wow, you're very cute. And these things also live in the spiritual plane. So I'll just move this here like this, right? Those are what we call the higher feelings in the spiritual plane. So I'll put higher feelings, right? So we have amygdala feelings, which what I would consider the lower feelings, which would be like fear, shame, fantasy, pride, anger, sadness, even happiness. These sorts of things would be the lower feelings, and then the higher feelings, or these are rather emotions, and then the higher feelings are synthesized feelings: gratitude, love, flow. So when you synthesize these opposites, right? When you're able to cancel out your negative charges and cancel out your positive charges, right? You will create a synthesis of opposites, which enlightens you, because a negatively charged electron and a positively charged positron, when they smash together, they create gamma rays, which is light, and you become more enlightened, okay?
You know what I realized, the irony of saying you become more enlightened? Like, the higher the emotion goes, the harder it is to explain.
Yes, 100%. Love is difficult to explain, right? Even flow, this elusive flow state, it's hard to explain. Gratitude, even gratitude, is difficult to explain, right? When you say, I love something, people are like, okay, what does that mean? I don't know, I love it. And that's okay, right? Because we don't necessarily have the tools through language to explain what these higher feelings are. Language is actually a very new thing to the human mind, right? To the human brain. It's very new. So we don't necessarily have the tools to demonstrate and explain what these higher feelings are, but we do feel them, right? So for instance, and you know, right? You're in a state of gratitude, love, and flow because you've canceled out these opposite pairs and you see the negative in the positive and the positive in the negative. So for instance, if you value financial independence, right? You're going to save money, and you're going to be grateful to save money, and you're going to love saving money, and you're going to be in a flow state when you think about finances, when you're seeing what's happening in the markets, when you're putting together your financial portfolio. You're going to be in a flow state. You're not going to be thinking of it. You're not going to have to use a lot of conscious thought. You're going to be taking spontaneous action. Okay?
Yeah, like me coming up with ideas on how to save money for our baby shower because they don't want to have a huge budget.
Right. Right. So you're going to take spontaneous action. Part of the reason I like kind of doing these videos off the head is because it brings me more into a flow, spontaneous action state. So you are getting a more authentic Seth, right? So you take spontaneous action and you don't think about it. And if somebody asks you, oh, how do you feel about financial independence? Or how do you feel about building wealth? You'll say something like, I love it, or I'm grateful to do it, or it's just who I am. You'll say that type of stuff, right? Versus if somebody asks me, why do you work out? I'll tell them I work out for my health. I work out because it's good for my business. I'm not going to have the same statements of like gratitude and love for things that aren't as high on my values. Understand? You're gonna love what you do and be in a flow state when you're doing what you value, and you're gonna be in an authentic state. Your authentic self is your spiritual self. When you're doing what you actually care about, that's what it means to be spiritual. And when you're doing what you care about, you have more influence over reality because you're gonna get good at what you care about, right? Or you might already be good at it. And if you're good at it, you're gonna influence reality with it. It's gonna be a lot easier to influence reality with it. So people are gonna say, I love it, or it's who I am, or they might just be very neutral on it. It's just what I do, just what I do, right? So people used to, when I was a sound engineer, people used to be like, yo, Seth, how do you do this? It's like hieroglyphics, this is crazy. I'd be like, I just practice, that's just what I do.
No, he taps into some, I don't know, some type of realm because it really is hieroglyphics. Like, sorry, it's not even like words or symbols or anything. It's literally like waves and lines and
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, you're also going to be highly inspired. When you're living authentically, you're going to be very inspired. And inspiration, once again, creates spontaneous action. Motivation, you're going to need motivation to do things you don't care about. You need motivation to go to work if you don't like your job. You need motivation to do all kind of stuff that you don't like. Inspiration, you're just going to act. You're just going to go, right? So I'm going to tell you 4 things, right? Like a little checklist for you to know if you're being your authentic self.
We're like checklists.
All right. Okay. So firstly, not polarized. So you're not like, oh, I hate this, or you're not like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, this is so exciting. You're not doing that, okay? Those are polarized states. And here's the thing, a lot of people will tell you that you're being authentic when you're doing that. You're not seeing the other side. So you can't possibly tap into more enlightenment into your spiritual self if you're not seeing the other side, right? The things that draw authenticity from you put you in a present neutral state, right? 2 is spontaneous action. Spontaneous action towards your values. Okay? Like I said before, you'll just act. You'll just go based on what you value. 3, organized. And strategic. Whatever you care about, whatever you value, you're going to be organized, disciplined, and strategic within. And this allows for flow state. You have to have a level of organization in the mind to go into that flow state, that gratitude state, that love state of whatever it is you're doing, whoever it is you are, right? And finally, you love what you're doing.
I read your mind, Jinx, you owe me a soda.
And that's really the biggest indicator. You love what you're doing. If somebody asks you, let's say you're drawing a picture and they ask you, how do you feel about drawing? I love drawing. You're being authentic. And that's that. That's being authentic. I'll see y'all in the next one from me and Wifey. Peace. So if you made it to this part of the video, I got a little something to share with you. I have opened one-on-one consulting, coaching, mentoring for all of you watching this. And I used to really only coach people in making money using the laws of the universe, but I've realized that people want help with different things based on the messages I get, based on the emails I get. So my one-on-one coaching is going to be open to far more vectors now. So your mental health, relationships, your wealth, your physical health, your influence, and your spirituality. If you need help with any of these things, apply. Link is in the description below, and I'll see if I can help you. See y'all in the next one. Peace.